Hi, this is Right Now. I'm Bobby,
This is Heidi.
and we're cousins that read books. And today Heidi has a book for us, which
Okay, so this week, well, a couple weeks ago, I listened to Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency by Douglas Adams, and I was super stoked when this came up in my YouTube feed because I love Douglas Adams. He wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I didn't know that until you told me about it, but I have read this book.
Yeah,
So, funny
but
enough,
have you read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
I have not.
Oh, you should. It's a
I
good
know
one.
it's on there.
It's a good one. The thing about the only thing about Hitchhiker's Guide is like it's a perfect example of don't judge a book by its movie.
Oh yeah,
Cause
I
I'm
like the movie though.
yeah, the movie was good, but it's just one of my biggest pet peeves when people do movies of books is when they take like somebody takes the book and they're like, okay, so here are the names of the characters and here's the basic premise and we're just gonna make it our own. And it's like,
Oh, so the book is not even the movie
no.
at all.
Well, not
Like they breathed
it's
on it. It's like
it's all
lemon water. Is
the
what you're saying?
characters are the same and the basic idea of the earth being demolished and this guy basically having to hitchhike around the universe because he's the last one of
Human.
the last humans.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that is the premise of the book.
Okay, and then they just went
But
somewhere else.
and then they took like a handful of pivotal scenes from the book and it's like, okay, that was in the book, but then they were like, and we're going to take some creative license, and it's like, okay, there's creative license and then there's completely rewriting it. Anyway, so it's
So
by the same guy, but I love Hitchhiker's Guide. It's so good
yeah.
because he's one of the things I love about Douglas Adams is just some of the ways that he phrases things. Like the one that comes to mind is like Arthur grappled with his conscience like one grapples with a bar of soap in the shower.
Oh my
You
gosh,
know,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
just that image, is so
Right.
relatable and he says stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's not the usual like lines that people
Yeah.
you don't hear
No,
that from someone
he's
else.
so like he's very creative with some of his language and some of just the whole Hitchhiker series is just odd
Hmm.
in a way that I find
But
very
this isn't
fun.
but this isn't off of
No.
that, right?
No,
Okay.
this is different.
Just making sure I didn't like miss that and be like, "Oh,
No,
frick."
I love Hitchhiker's Guide. So that's why I was so excited to listen to this one because I
Okay.
love Hitchhiker's Guide. I love Douglas Adams. He's so weird. And if you are a person who loves fantasy and you are thinking about getting into science fiction, but you don't want to get bogged down in the technical,
Hmm.
he's really great with that because he is very much like there is science, but it's also mixed with a lot of fantasy. And
And
so
he's funny about it.
and he's funny. And it's like there are some science fiction authors where it's very specific and technical.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
where you're like, now we're in the technical of like this is how the earth is doing like this is how we're doing flips right now. And
yeah,
like how the pew pew is happening
yeah.
and why this is going to explode where he's
And
not like that.
some people like I just remember when I was younger, I didn't like I mean now I have fun with the science fiction, but like when I
Right.
was first getting into it, Douglas Adams was a really good
Segue.
intro to science
Yeah.
fiction because it leans heavily on fantasy and then it was made the transition more fun for me.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So, Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. Instead of doing it in the order that the book does it, I'm going to do it in chronological order because the book jumps around a lot, which is
Hmm.
kind of part of how it's fun to have the plot revealed.
Yeah.
But if I try to do that now, we're all just going to be confused.
Right. I think that's the point of the book too, to be
Yeah.
a little bit like
Yeah, to be a little bit thrown off and
yeah,
confused.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so fun.
No, that's good. Still recommend.
Okay. So, several billion years ago,
Hmm.
an alien ship that has landed on Earth explodes,
Nice.
and all the aliens on board it are killed.
Hmm.
But one alien sticks around and chooses to be a ghost.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
does this ringing a
Yes.
bell?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he basically this ghost alien is basically wandering the earth for millions of years waiting for a society to grow and eventually become a society so that he can build a time machine and go back in time
and save it all.
and save his species.
Yeah,
is basically his plan.
Oh my gosh.
So so he needs first he needs the technology to go back in time,
Right.
and then
right.
he needs like a compatible somebody to possess who is willing to help him with his quest of restoring his species.
Right.
So he has to wait billions of years for this.
Oh my gosh.
And at some point in the 1700s, he like tells a drunk poet about it, but the drunk poet is drunk and doesn't really remember it, but he just writes a weird, creepy poem about, muddy vistas and weird stuff like that.
Doesn't really work out.
So basically the story, we don't know this at first, but he's going around looking for different people, trying to possess them, trying to find someone compatible who's willing to help him.
Right.
And so the first person he comes across is, and I'm pretty, like, the book doesn't necessarily address it, but I'm pretty sure Professor Chronotis is just another alien.
Oh yeah, like of a different race.
Yeah,
like a lizard person.
Maybe. Who knows? But like, because it's not really clear. Because when we ask Professor Chronotis, okay, who are you? He's like, that's the thing. I don't really know.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, I have been around for so long that I have I have learned all these new things, but I don't know where I'm from.
Oh my gosh.
But here's my time machine.
He just has one.
Yeah, he just his apartment is a time machine.
That's right.
He has the apartment time machine, and he's like, I must have come from a culture that used an abacus, because that's how I make the time machine go, is with my abacus. And they're like, but you don't really know who you are? No, not really. Well, how long have you been here? About 300 years.
Oh my gosh.
You remember that? Okay. Yeah, kinda. It's like, okay.
All right.
You're weird. And so the ghost tries to possess him because he has a time machine.
Right. It's cut right to the chase.
Yeah, he's got a time machine. He's like, okay, I need if you'd be willing to save my species, but he's a ghost and he's trying to be subtle and kind of be sneaky, and so he's like, go back in time and save the dodo bird. You love the dodo bird, isn't it cute? You should save it. But Professor Chronotis is very like, no, I do not interfere with stuff. I don't save. I don't kill. Right. I just live. And every now and then when I'm missing the dodo bird, I go back in time and I watch it walk around and be a dodo.
Oh my gosh.
But no. And so there's... Okay. It gets so confusing sometimes. Okay. So there's a guy whose name I did not write down. Oh no.
That's the worst. That's the problem that I had with my book that I read the other day. Because I can't remember if they're cousins with this one or that one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, anyway, the main dude, not Dirk Gently, the guy that we're following.
Yeah. The ghost guy?
No, not the ghost guy. The
scientist guy?
Just the main guy.
Okay.
So the main guy, he goes to like a college dinner. Professor Chronotis is there. There's a bored little girl, and Professor Chronotis does a magic trick for her.
Okay.
And makes her like a little salt shaker appear inside of an old pot that she found when she was on vacation. And he's like, how is that even possible? That doesn't even seem possible.
Yeah.
And so in order to do that, he used his time machine.
Oh, to go put it back
put it back inside the pot. But then like he had been in ancient Greece or something, so he had a tan. So he went to a different planet that he knew had like skin-colored dirt.
Oh my gosh.
And so he went back there. And so so the ghost kind of was like, oh, you know where you could go? That planet that has the skin-colored dirt, because the ghost knows that on that planet is a thing called an electronic monk.
It's monk, like a person?
Yeah.
Like a robot monk?
Like, because the ghost alien came from a society that they like electronified everything, like everything was outsourced, even belief.
Oh my gosh.
So they built these electronic monks to believe, that were programmed to believe whatever we told them to believe.
Yeah.
And so he knows that there's an electronic monk there, and if the professor goes to that planet at this time, so that's the next person he possesses. He goes back and he kind of possesses the monk and is like, go through this door. And it's into the time machine. And the professor doesn't know that the electronic monk has just hitchhiked on his time machine.
Oh my gosh.
And then he's like, okay, go here, and the electronic monk is like, I believe that God is telling me to go here.
Yeah.
And then
What a choice. What a good choice,
and
Alyssa.
then the electronic monk shoots somebody.
Why? I don't remember this part. Like,
Basically because the ghost wanted him to. He wanted to see if he would do it. And so he did.
Oh, frick.
And he's like, I didn't like that. I don't feel like this person had a very good reaction to being shot. Because he died. And
no.
It's like, yeah, you know what? That is a negative reaction to being shot.
That seems like why would he do that? I don't remember this part at all.
Okay, well, we'll come back to the whys. And so so the guy he shoots, his name is Gordon, and he becomes a ghost.
Gordon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
remember. So the ghost of Gordon.
I need to reread this. It's been a long time.
It's been a while. So the ghost of Gordon is also like unfinished business. I need to find my killer kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he's trying to communicate to people, and it's not working because he's a ghost.
Right. So wait, how come the other one can do it? Because he's a ghost.
Well, he's not communicating directly with people. Basically, he's
trying to like come at them and talk instead of like brain.
Yeah.
Okay,
Gordon is trying to communicate the way we would communicate.
Yeah.
Whereas the ghost has been doing this long enough that he knows that he can't communicate regularly. He has to kind of like, you want to save the dodo. You know, he can only suggest and try to prod.
Right.
And so then the electronic monk is like, well, I didn't like that. And so the electronic, like, eventually they track down the electronic monk and they put him back on his planet.
Oh, yeah.
And but, you know, the alien ghost is annoyed because it's like one more person who's just not compatible.
Right.
And so then because he was with, like, he goes from the professor to the monk to the main guy.
Mm-hmm.
Who looks like his name is Richard. Maybe. I think so.
Okay, we'll go with
We're gonna say his name is Richard. It's been a few weeks. So he goes to Richard, and he is like, perhaps this one will be compatible. And so he starts like trying to suggest weird things to him.
Yeah.
And he's like, you should break into your girlfriend's apartment.
Oh.
And he's like, okay. And so he breaks into his girlfriend's apartment.
Sure.
But she is his girlfriend. Like, they were supposed to have a date, but he forgot.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. And so he breaks into her apartment, and the ghost is like, steal the tape from her answering machine. And he's like, and so at first he does, and then like when he hears her key in the lock, he's like, why did I steal the answering machine tape? This is stupid. And then he put it back.
Right.
And so the ghost was like, crap. You know, you're not as suggestible as I want you to be.
Right. Doesn't he go out the window or something?
Yeah, so he comes in the window. Yeah, and that's how we get introduced to Dirk Gently, because Dirk Gently is a private investigator, basically, and he sees him break into his girlfriend's apartment. Okay. And he's like, that is extremely out of character for you. What are you doing? Yeah. And he's like, I don't know. I just did it. Have you been doing anything else weird today? Well, I almost stole the machine, and then he tells him about the magic trick, and basically Dirk Gently is the one who puts together that there is a ghost or a something, some kind of entity that is going like people hopping, right, causing them to do weird stuff. And he's you know, like, what is this ghost's motive? What is trying to figure that out? And of course Richard is like, who even cares? It's a magic trick. It's a this, it's a that. And he's like, no, something deeper is happening. Yeah. And so when the girlfriend comes in, she comes in with this annoying guy. Crap, what was annoying guy's name? I also didn't write down annoying guy's name. So she went on a date with this annoying guy out of spite. Yeah. And so the backstory to Annoying Guy is Annoying Guy was born into money. His dad ran a magazine, and then he inherited the magazine, and he was running it for a while.
Didn't he not like doing that or something?
Yeah, he did a bad job. And then basically the main editor of the magazine was like, I don't care who your dad was. You have 1 more month to get this together or you're fired.
Oh, freak.
And guess what he didn't do? He didn't get it together, so he got fired from his cushy magazine job.
Well, that happens.
Yeah. And so he's grumpy and has an axe to grind.
Yeah.
And so the ghost kind of sees him and goes,
that might be it.
Yeah. Another, this one could be suggestible enough.
Yeah.
And so that's when the ghost goes with him.
Yeah.
And so then we have like Dirk Gently and Professor Chronotis and Richard. They're all in the same place. And Dirk Gently like goes to Professor Chronotis and is like, I figured out how you did the magic trick. And he's like, oh? And he's like, yeah, you have a time machine. And Richard is like, he doesn't have a time machine. And then Professor Chronotis is like, no, I do. I have a time machine.
Yeah.
And that's when we find out that he is some kind of time traveling alien who doesn't even remember how old he is.
Yeah.
And then, the annoying guy's name is Michael. I just remembered.
Okay.
So, and he's like, have you been feeling the urge to do weird things? And he's like, yeah, I did the magic trick for the little girl, and yeah, that was kind of out of character for me, but I just felt like doing it. And he's like, you just felt like it? And so then that's when Michael, possessed by the alien ghost, shows up, and he's like, hey, I am Michael, but I am being possessed by this alien ghost who has been trying to possess all of you.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, that adds up. Yeah. So what are you doing? Yeah. What are you trying to do? And he tells them the story, and he's like, the reason that I was the engineer, and the reason that the ship blew up was, instead of going through and checking everything myself, I turned to our nearest electronic monk, which was a different electronic monk, and was like, believe that it's all good. And dude, it turns out that belief is not the same thing as checking and making sure all the buttons are pushed.
Yeah.
And so that's why the ship exploded.
Oh my god.
And he's like, I want to go back in time and fix it, and this guy Michael is willing to help me.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, that's
neat.
Odd.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Sure.
And so like they get him all situated, and they send him, and they go back in time, and he is walking through the muck of prehistoric, pre-anything Earth, going back to his ship to fix his mistake.
Oh my.
And so then they get a phone call from Susan, and Susan has just had something on her, like, she got a message on her answering machine from the ghost of Gordon, because the ghost of Gordon has been wandering.
That's right.
Has also been wandering, and he finds out that Michael, the annoying magazine guy, killed his editor. Like, he was like, oh, you're gonna fire me? I'm going to kill you. And he killed his editor, and it was...
Spoilers.
Yeah.
You didn't even say spoilers.
Sorry, spoilers.
You didn't even say it.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, so he killed his editor, and she's like, so Michael, the guy that they just dropped off on prehistoric Earth, is wanted by the police for killing his editor. And that's when Dirk Gently is like, that was it. That's the catalyst. He was looking for someone who was willing to kill.
Yeah.
/ eliminate. Because it turns out the reason, like, they didn't stop on the Earth to refuel or anything.
They were going to kill everybody?
Well, they were going to establish life on this planet.
Right, take it over.
And so basically he had to, like, mold and make humans so that he could specifically go back and destroy like, it's kind of like, I wonder, like, when I got to the end, is this us killing God? Is this what we're trying to do?
Oh my gosh.
Because basically, because he looks at humanity as, this was supposed to be our dream planet, and you crawled up out of the mud and the slime, and took it over from us. And it's like, yeah, but the reason that humanity was created was because you screwed up.
Right.
And you kind of needed, you basically had to shape a world so that you could get your time machine and get a person and go back and fix your mistake. And it's just weird. And so they realize, oh, we have just dropped off the person who's going to kill us all. Like, basically, if he makes this work, there will be no humanity. Humanity will not have happened.
Right.
And
because those students will take over because they didn't die. Yeah.
So and so yeah. So the ghost of Gordon is able to tell Susan. Susan calls Richard. Richard tells them, and Dirk gently puts it all together. And he's like, "Okay, we have just destroyed humanity. How do we undestroy humanity?"
Right.
And um, part of the reason that
Are you gonna tell the end? Just like.
well, this is all the end.
Okay, great.
I mean,
Still spoilers.
yeah,
Just making sure.
it's just a lot.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Well,
for sure.
otherwise, this is just all going to be confusing and sound like a fever dream, which it is.
It
which
really
is.
I remember reading it being like, oh, holy frick.
Yeah,
oh,
no,
holy frick.
that is the charm of Douglas Adams. It is the sensation of tripping on acid without doing drugs.
Yeah.
Anyways, I could only imagine like watching Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on drugs. That would be crazy. Or just but it's fun. He, as a writer, I like that he is an acid trip.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It is a crazy fun journey.
Anyway, so they go 10 minutes before they do this and then kill Michael?
No.
Or toss him in the pit?
No.
Of the police station, I mean?
No. So what they do is, the reason that Michael kind of felt confident and inspired was he was inspired by this weird poem. The weird poem
from the beginning?
Yeah, the weird poem from the beginning. So the ghost inspired this weird drunk poet to write this weird poem about, things crawling out of the sea and usurping your place. And he's like, that's how I feel about my editor. He stole this thing from me, even though it wasn't really mine, and I wasn't doing it right. And he was driving the magazine into the ground.
Right.
And so like I want revenge, and so like he was trying to get the professor to rescue the dodo, probably at the sacrifice of a different species. And the professor was like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And then he like went to the electronic monk and was like, you can kill people, just shoot them.
Just shoot them.
And the monk was like, well, I tried that and I didn't like it.
Yeah, didn't
and so that's not gonna work. And then he went to Richard and was like, break into your girlfriend's apartment and steal from her. And he's like, ew, no.
Yeah, that's.
And then he finds this guy who's inspired by the poem that he inspired the guy to write, and he feels this strong connection with.
Right.
And he's like, let's go kill your boss.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go back in time and save my species and destroy yours.
Yeah.
And just So instead, what they do is they go back in time and find the drunk poet.
Yeah. And then kill him?
No, and then they like
take his papers away?
Kind of. Like they go like it was the night that he was supposed to be like in like the drunken stupor, and he was gonna write the crazy weird poem.
Yeah.
And so he just Dirk gently just went in and was all annoying and like, hey, I'm a friend of yours. Well, let's talk about other stuff. I'm sorry, I'm trying to write. No.
Yeah.
And just like
distracts him
off of writing.
Yeah.
And then
does he write a different poem, or he just doesn't write one?
He just doesn't write that poem. Or like anything like it. And then the world is saved.
Okay.
And it's just like
does it ever say what happens to the ghost guy? Because the ghost guy tried it and then carried on to now, and then but now like it doesn't turn out that way because he can't get inspired off of. So he went to those people, they still didn't get inspired off of him to kill, and then he would have gone to Michael, and Michael wouldn't have had that thing. Does it ever say?
No,
I can't remember.
It doesn't.
Okay.
We just well, we did that, so we saved humanity, and now Richard is gonna go on a date with his
Susan.
Girlfriend to a fancy restaurant, and they had to use the time machine one more time to go back 2 weeks to book a reservation.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
And that's the end. And then the time machine breaks.
Oh, good.
So now humanity is safe because the time machine is broken, because the time machine can't work at the same time as the telephone. Like it's a whole weird thing, because like he's like, every time I use my time machine, I have to call the telephone people to get my telephone repaired, because for some reason the time machine breaks the telephone, but the telephone also breaks the time machine. And so when Susan made her call to tell them about the thing, well, there was that, and then they had to go back in time and use the telephone to make the reservation at the restaurant. And so then it breaks the time machine. So humanity is safe because at least until there's another time machine.
Until another dude accidentally is like, I also am here for no reason.
Yeah, I'm also a weird, confused alien who doesn't know why I'm here. And here's my time machine.
So anyways,
But
still
it's
recommend, even though it's confusing.
definitely. It is
Yeah.
it is confusing, but it is.
Is there a sequel to this, or is there something else?
I believe there is a sequel. I have not read the sequel yet.
I don't.
I kind of want to.
I can't remember if I did or not. I'll have to go back and because it's been like
It's.
I want to say last summer or the
I
summer
want to
before
say
when
it's
I
called
read
like the
this.
Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul or something.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
But
I don't know.
I haven't read it yet though. But it's.
Anyways,
But it was I love Douglas Adams. I love going on the acid trip.
yeah. No,
It's like just that it's a weird mental bending journey, and I love books like that.
Yeah, same.
That all kind of like it all bleeds together and all wraps into each other, but it's also I mean it's just kind of funny, you know, just like because one of the things that stuck out to me was when they describe an electronic monk, it sounds exactly like a person.
Right.
Like it's, oh, and this is an electronic monk. An electronic monk has 2 legs and 2 arms and 2 eyes and a nose and a mouth and doesn't look like us. And it's like, who are us then? And you realize that the monk is being described
by the
alien
or
by the alien's ghost.
Yeah.
So they have like they look very different from us.
Right, they must be like squid people or something.
Yeah.
And
so like when I was listening to the book through the second time, it's like, oh, so he, assuming that this ghost has been wandering the earth and kind of prodding evolution in a certain direction, I kind of feel like he modeled humans after the electronic monks.
Right.
So that they would be more susceptible to believing what he wanted them to believe.
Like if he can do that to them, then it must be.
Yeah, if you can build an electronic monk to believe what you tell it to,
yeah,
let's make an organic
version of it.
Electronic monk.
Yeah.
To believe that it will be okay when I wipe their species out.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a weird, but I love Douglas Adams. I want to read. I need to go back and like reread, but I have such a long reading list.
It's okay. We'll wrap around.
I know, but it's just, but he's so.
Maybe I'll jump to one because
weird
I've
and
read
fun.
some really kind of poopy books recently.
Oh, you should listen to Hitchhiker's Guide. I would talk to you for hours about Hitchhiker's Guide.
Anyways,
it's so much fun.
If you had to if out of 10, what would you give this?
Oh,
like 10 is for like everybody, and like.
Okay. So
I don't know. From what I remember, I'd give it like a 6 or 7. Not because I think it's bad. I just don't think it's for everybody.
Oh, it's definitely not for everybody.
You have to be a certain sort of soul to like it. But I would recommend. But I give it a high enough because I'm like, give it a go.
Yeah,
just give it a go. And if you're like, no, it's confusing, that's fine. But I liked it.
I would definitely say like a 7 to an 8. Yeah. Like no, it's not for everyone, but it is well crafted. You know, like. There are things that you might miss on the first listen to, but then you like when I listened to it the second time, it's like, oh, that relates to the, you know, it's all
it clicks even more.
I love it when a story like knits together like a sweater, you know, just like it's all interwoven and it's so fun.
Yeah.
So put that on your reading list.
Yeah.
And smoke it.
And what the frick?
No, that's like put that in your pipe and smoke it. Put it on your reading list and smoke it.
Oh my gosh, please don't. Okay, bye.
Bye.